Florida GOP Senator Marco Rubio has been sounding the alarm about the border crisis. Senator, it doesn't seem like this administration cares.
Yeah, well, this administration is part of a Democratic Party that's controlled by a bunch of, rich, affluent progressives who live in cities and neighborhoods and trendy places where they don't have to deal with the consequences of this. And these are people, this is the dominant base in the Democratic Party, and they'll never come out and say they're for open borders. They won't call it that, because although some of them do actually, but they won't call it that. But if you're against enforcement, which is what they are, they're against enforcement, then you are in essence in favor of open borders. And the consequence of that is not just what's going to be over 1 million people in just 18 months entering the country illegally, that we know of. The other consequence of it, which I think begins to deserve more attention, is the fentanyl, the drugs that are pouring into our streets and just wiping people out. I mean, we have a small county in Florida, Gadsden County, over the 4th of July weekend. They had a mass casualty event, over a dozen, maybe 2 dozen young people, contaminated drugs that were used, and they had this massive fentanyl overdose problem over the weekend there. It's a horrifying crisis. It's all coming across the border as well.
When you think about the trafficking and the fentanyl and the children who are coming over without their parents, Lord knows what's happening to them along the way. Then you hear about this guy raped a 10-year-old girl. He's a Guatemalan illegal immigrant. Then in Arizona, a Mexican citizen convicted of lewd acts with a child under the age of 14 and sex with a minor in LA. And then also in Arizona, this guy, convicted sex offender, previously removed from the U.S., also had a warrant out in Indiana for fondling a child. RGV, one of the Mexican nationals found there, was convicted for indecency with a 6-year-old child and sentenced to 10 years probation. Now, does the Biden administration think about all of these children that are being affected along the way? And Pete made a good point earlier. He said they have track of all of our criminal records. They know everyone in America and what we've done. We know nothing about these people.
Right. No, and look, do they care about it? Well, when it comes to public policy and public officials, caring about it means taking action. And the bottom line is the only action you can take here that would make a difference is to begin to enforce the law. They refuse to enforce the law. We have to understand, again, that the base of the Democratic Party, when I mean the base, I'm talking about the activists, the people that work in their offices, and the people that donate money. All these Democrats that are raising millions of dollars every 3 months for their campaigns, that money is all coming from a radical, progressive base who doesn't want immigration laws enforced. If you don't force immigration laws, and that word gets out pretty quickly, you're going to encourage people to come, and that's what we are seeing. And this is only going to get worse, not better. And if 1 million people come into a country illegally, there is no doubt that some percentage of them is going to be violent, dangerous people, probably violent, dangerous people you've kicked out already in the past. And you're going to increase crime in our cities, especially in cities where prosecutors won't prosecute and judges won't put people in jail.
Senator, rather than addressing the needs of Hispanics and others in other communities, the Democrats are resorting to even more pandering. Here's what Jill Biden said recently, talking about Hispanics and a particular food group. Listen.
Diversity of this community, as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
Bogotas and breakfast tacos, Senator.
Yeah. Well, personally, I identify as a Cuban sandwich, but look, it's silly because you know what? Those are speeches that are written probably by some young person who majored in Latinx studies at Columbia University or something, and then they write this stuff up because their entire agenda, the entire Democratic agenda, is designed to cater to the pet issues of affluent liberals living in trendy neighborhoods and expensive cities, far away from the consequences of the things they're for. So they've got this radicalism on climate change, and it means higher gas prices, and they think government's the solution to everything, so you have this inflation because of the spending. And they're against the immigration enforcement, so we have an immigration enforcement crisis, and they think the criminal justice system is mean, and so we have a crime wave because police officers won't arrest people and prosecutors won't prosecute, and the list goes on. And so normal, everyday people, working people, look at all this and say, these people don't fight for us. They are fighting for a small group of radical, progressive, rich liberals, and the rest of us are out on their own. And that's the factor. That's what's happening.
Yep. Senator Marco Rubio, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.